Everybody, welcome to FREEWrite Friday. My name is Jessica Lynn Johnson, and for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder and CEO of Soaring Solo Studios, and that's a company dedicated to the development and the direction of solo shows, of one-person plays. So welcome to FREEWrite Friday. A little bit about me. I am a solo artist myself. I toured for about 13 years with my first two solo shows, and I'm currently writing my third solo show, and I am also a full-time director and developer. I've worked on well over 100 solo shows at this point. And let's see, I'm on the advisory board with the Los Angeles Women's Theater Festival. I am a blogger for NoHo Arts, so you can find my blog Soaring Solo on NoHo Arts and get some tips and tools for being a solo artist. What else can I tell you? And yeah, I get to work with solo artists every day from all over the world. So we're a pretty robust community here in California and internationally in the Soaring Solo community. So welcome. And that's a little bit about me. I'd love to hear more about you. So please feel free to say hi in the chat, say where in the world you're tuning in from or what phase of your solo show development you're in. If you're just dabbling with ideas, if you're on the other side of a first draft, or maybe you're already touring. And the mission of FREEWrite Friday is really just to gather us together in creative community and focus for about 20 or 30 minutes on writing and solo structure, character development, more of the heady side of solo show creation. So if you like what we do today and you want to come back, the next FREEWrite Friday is happening May 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, and 1 p.m. Eastern. You can just sign up the same way you did today through the website. A little bit of housekeeping. If you're going to have your camera on, please just try not to do anything too distracting. Otherwise, feel free to, keep them on. And make sure you have something nearby you to write with or write on, or a recording device. If you're somebody who more likes to record yourself and then transcribe later, that works too. And the format of this is we will just kind of go through a talking point, and then you will write for a few minutes. And then we'll go through some quick announcements, and that's pretty much it. So the whole thing usually takes between 20 to 30 minutes, but it's not really a space for Q&A, or we definitely don't share our work in FREEWrite Friday. That stuff is more for my free Saturday morning classes that I offer. That's kind of where those things take place. Okay, so this week we are focusing on who is your audience. So who is your audience for a solo show? And that seems obvious, but it's actually not. So when you're writing and thinking about who your protagonist or hero or, who the main character of your solo show is speaking to, you really want to make that distinction very clear for your audience, what the role is that they're playing. So for example, maybe you've seen Latin History for Morons with John Leguizamo, who I think is one of the best solo artists to have ever lived. I think he's absolutely incredible. You can watch it on Netflix. I believe it's still on Netflix. So Latin History for Morons. We are deemed the morons as the audience pretty early on in the show, and learn that he's going to be the professor kind of guiding us through Latin history. And of course, we also get to see flashbacks and moments from his personal life as well, with his wife, with his son, with his therapist, and things of that nature. But we collectively are the morons sitting in the theater for his lecture. But then if you look at Sarah Jones in Sell by Date, her more recent one-woman show, I think she did it at the Geffen most recently. We are set in this very futuristic classroom, and we're her students in this classroom. So again, we're given a role pretty early on in the show, and know the world that we are entering into. So with your writing, I want you to start to consider what inspires you in terms of who you might be talking to. So we're going to do a little exercise. And first, I want you to think about just any story from your life. You don't have to be married to it going in your solo show. This is just really for experimentation today. But I want you to think about any story from your life that you would consider highly personal. Maybe it's something that's very embarrassing. Maybe it's a dark secret. Maybe it's something that's just very emotionally charged for you. But we're not talking about the weather, like something that has substance, something that is meaty. And I'm going to have you write it from 3 different approaches. So just take a moment to think about what that that story might be. Just take a few moments. And again, try and think of something that's meaty that has happened to you. And please know you never have to share. And we don't share in this setting. So let yourself be pretty uncensored with what that memory is going to be. And I'm going to set my timer for just 3 minutes because, again, we're just experimenting a little bit. And I want you to write this monologue, this story, as if you're talking to your very best friend. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and I want you to just picture your best friend, and you're telling this story to your best friend. And so, again, depending on how well they know you, how honest with them you are, where you're at in your relationship with them, that's going to affect everything from vernacular to emotional truth to the details of the story. And to location, like where are you? Are you sitting at a coffee shop? Are you having a wine night in their living room? Where are you having this conversation? Is it a phone conversation? Is it in person? All those sorts of things. So just take a moment, get grounded, imagining your best friend. And I'm setting the timer for 3 minutes, and just go ahead and write that out. Okay. Now taking the same story, I want you to write it again, and I want you to this time write it with the audience just as the audience. So we're accepting that we're at the theater, we're in real time, and you're just telling the audience this story. So just think about what might change in your vernacular, in your truthfulness, in your eloquence, and those sorts of things. And I will let you know when your 3 minutes are up. So writing to the audience as the audience. Okay, please wrap that up. And next, I want you to imagine again telling this same story, but this time you're telling it to a mentor of sorts. So maybe this is like a therapist, maybe it's a pastor, a rabbi, a life coach, but somebody who has that sort of role in your life. So just think again about some sort of mentor or life coach, therapist, rabbi, spiritual leader, something of that nature. And how would you tell this story differently? And this will be our last one. Okay, please wrap up your writing. And hopefully from that exercise, you started to glean a little bit of a different um, vantage point or way into that story, depending upon who you imagined yourself talking to. Um, and some things you might have noticed, like if you're talking to your best friend, maybe you curse like a sailor because you feel very comfortable with them, or you bite your tongue if you're speaking to like your reverend or something. Maybe you're a bit more eloquent or polished if you're talking directly to your audience and more performative in nature. It may affect what you leave out or which parts you exaggerate or which parts you alter or omit, depending upon who you're talking to. And it also changes your intention behind why you're telling the story, depending upon who you're talking to. If you're speaking to your best friend, you might just be venting. Whereas with a spiritual leader or therapist or something of that nature, you might be seeking advice. Or if you're just telling the audience to your audience, or you're telling your story to the audience as the audience, then you are just likely trying to entertain, to connect, to intrigue. So you also want to be thinking about how do you teach your audience, not only who they are, but what is the environment that they are in. So, you know, especially with the work of John Leguizamo, there's been a lot of multimedia influence now. I mean, a lot of the shows that I work on, we have a lot of projections, we have a lot of sound cues. So bringing the environment to life, the atmosphere and the ambiance is done a lot through tech. But how can we also communicate that we're at a coffee house, that we're at someone's home for a wine night, that we are just in the theater breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience as the audience. So thinking about how we convey these basic these basic pieces of information so the audience gets grounded in who they are and where they are immediately as you tell your story. Something else to consider is just being mindful in your solo show is when is the fourth wall up and when is the fourth wall down. So for instance, in Latin history for morons, obviously when John is the professor and talking to us as the morons, the fourth wall's down and he's engaging with us directly. But when he goes into a flashback scene with his wife or with his son, daughter, or therapist, we go away. The fourth wall goes back up. We get to be flies on the wall and witness these flashbacks from his life. So a lot of times I see solo work get very sloppy when people have not thought through who are they talking to and when is the fourth wall up and down, when is the audience invited into an experience and when are they supposed to imagine that they're voyeuristic in nature and just witnessing something from an outside vantage point. So those are some things to consider, and hopefully that was helpful. And as always, we have a ton of awesome things going on in the Soaring Solo community. So I put in the chat a lot of the announcements. So my free class, The Art of Creating One-Person Play, which is a 90-minute class that I've been teaching for over a decade now. It's once a month on Saturdays, and the next one's coming up on May 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, and 1 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. So you can sign up on my website, soaringSoloStudios.com. Just go under events and free class. I believe you can also get there under free stuff on the tab free stuff on my website, and you'll get your RSVP response. You'll get your email with the Zoom link and all the information. If you ever wanted to work with me in a more professional capacity, feel free to email me at soaringsoloartist@gmail.com, and we can talk about some of the offerings we have, such as character intensives, writing structure intensives, one-on-one coaching, power pair sessions, small groups. We have a lot of different offerings. And by we, I mean myself and also Heather Dowling, who's a Soaring Solo instructor and award-winning solo artist herself. And also Carla Delaney is a Soaring Solo instructor and also an award-winning solo artist. So we have many, many different offerings at different times. So you can email me for more information about that. And if you're looking to put a meaningful stake in the ground, I kicked off the Revealed virtual reading series back in the fall of 2021. And it's been going very, very well. And essentially what that is, these are works in progress solo shows. So just solo scripts that maybe have a pretty good first rough draft and you'd like to have it produced on Zoom and get a virtual audience and then have a great conversation afterwards to get feedback from your virtual audience about what's working and what's not working as you are preparing to premiere. Or maybe you've already premiered and it didn't go quite the way you wanted it to go and you want more information on why and you want to pick the audience's brain. Revealed could be a very good opportunity for that as well. So if you'd like to get more information on being a part of Revealed, we're going to be extending through the summer of 2022 and maybe even into the fall. So you can email me at soaringsoloartist@gmail.com for information about that. And then all throughout the pandemic, I was doing a free event. It was at first every single day, and then I cut back to Wednesdays, called Isolate, Meditate, Create. And I'm a firm believer in using the principles of meditation and visualization to free up our mind and bring stories out and kind of declutter our minds so that we can get to our solo show scripts. And so if you're interested in watching the playback of Isolate, Meditate, Create, I have over 120 episodes of that on my YouTube channel. I believe I put the link in the chat for that. So you can visit my YouTube channel and watch some of those, especially if you're somebody who gets writer's block or gets stuck in your head a lot. That might be a useful service for you. And again, FREEWrite Friday is happening again on May 13th, Friday, May 13th, 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. And you can watch back any of the FREEWrite Fridays that you missed on my YouTube channel. That's where this one is going to end up after I'm done today. And what else can I tell you? Oh, yes. And then a week from now, my co-producer Kevin Bone and I are putting on the first ever Joshua Tree solo festival and retreat in Joshua Tree in the desert in California. And we do still have a couple of spots left if you wanted to attend. There's going to be a lot of workshops, solo performances, readings, things of that nature. So it's a really great way to get immersed in the solo theater world, network with other solo artists. And if you want to visit the website, I don't know if I included that. I'll put that in the chat in a moment. It's joshuatreesolofestival.com. And you can look at all the different workshops we have and the performances and things like that. It's $199 for the entire weekend, and that includes your lodging. So we got a tremendous deal to stay at the retreat center because Kevin has connections there. So we're really grateful to join together in community in Joshua Tree for this creative weekend. So again, that's 1 week from today. It's next Friday through Sunday. And it's going to be incredible. So email me if you want more information about that. And I think that's everything. So I'll leave the chat up for a little bit. Feel free to say hi on the chat and jot down any of the announcements. And as always, just pop me an email if you have any questions or thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye, everyone.